What's up, everybody? It's your boy Richard Graves. I just thought I'd touch base with you guys about obviously there's been some recent events that are being talked about on social media and on regular media and mainstream news. Specifically, I'm talking about the Tyre Nichols situation that happened in Memphis, Tennessee. So before I start talking, I just want to say prayers to his family, prayers to the people of Memphis, and that's the first and most important thing. This is somebody's son. This is somebody's brother. This is somebody's, friend, and any black man who watched the video or who knows of the incident, obviously, if you have black children, if you have black sons, this hits close to home. A lot of us grew up in areas where we dealt with different situations from law enforcement, regardless if it was in the city or in the burbs or in the country. So we all know that, unfortunately these things happen and we could have been victims. And of course we worry about our own children, our own sons. As we look at this young man, not just as black people, but as Americans, we should be seeing somebody's son, most importantly. But that's for further into discussion. But I just want to say that for the family, they lost their child. The bottom line is, before the incident with the police, this guy was a living human being with a job, with a life, with a future, with purpose, a young person, and honestly, his death was senseless. And before I go further to about the senselessness of this death, I'm going to talk about the bottom line. This is something that shouldn't happen. There is no quantifying this. I don't care if he just got through robbing a bank. I don't care if he just got through doing setting a building on fire or something. There is no excuse for well, at least what I saw in the video. The type of force I saw used in the video is not the type of force that you should, use on any human being for a traffic stop. But I'll talk about that a little bit more. So here's the thing. All right, who's to blame for this? Law enforcement in Memphis, those officers, that police department. I'm not here to talk about good cops versus bad cops. I'm not here talking about Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. All that's irrelevant to the point, but it'll be relevant when we talk about it in a few minutes. But the fact is, there is no excuse for it, and these were black police officers down in Memphis, Tennessee, that brutalized this young man and caused his death. And they have already been arrested, and I hope they get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and do the prison time that they should do for this particular murder is what it is. So talking about what he did prior to this video, in some cases, obviously, some context is necessary. But again, it doesn't matter what this young man was doing. If 5 cops can't subdue and cuff somebody, then they shouldn't be on the job, which is more to the actual point. I don't care what city or what color these cops are. If you can't do your job, or 5 of you can't cuff one guy, that's a problem, and that speaks to the problem. But before I speak to that problem, I want to talk about what I've been seeing on social media. Of course, I'm seeing the same damn song I see every time something like this happens. And for one, I said this the last time after what happened in Minnesota with was it Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd. All the rigmarole and defund the police and all this mess. Nothing really changed. And what I mean by that is, okay, Derek Chauvin went to prison for what he did. That's a change. So obviously we see this progression in actually holding law enforcement accountable. So we know that there's progression in that. But the thing is, people want to protest. People want to, people want to use the protests as cover for criminal activity, all that stuff. And, as black people, we get in our feelings about these things as we should, but we let people manipulate us about our feelings because we go out there protesting, doing whatever, and we talk F the police, but Black Lives Matter, whatever we're gonna say. And the fact is, none of that's changed nothing. We still got this stuff happened with George Floyd. Now this stuff happens with this young man, and the underlying problem hasn't changed. And I know that there's some on the woke left who want to say the underlying problem is racism, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, that is part of the underlying problem. I don't care if these officers are black or white or whatever color. there is obviously a racial bias in law enforcement that has to be addressed. And we know the racial bias against blacks can be from blacks often. So we can't ignore that. These are all black officers that did this horrible thing. So it's something bigger than a race thing. And of course, people want to roll to the fact, police hate black people, all that nonsense. The fact is this: you have some rogue elements in any organization that you put together. I don't care if it's police departments, churches, um, schools, whatever. Unfortunately, when you have rogue elements, law enforcement, you end up with people dead and unnecessarily dead. So this is the thing that we should be focusing on. How? Because the fact is, I just saw a news story in Chicago. Now, the people in Chicago are crying about the fact that there ain't enough police to respond to calls because people don't want to be police officers anymore. Police officers are leaving the town. You can't have it both ways. We know that we need the police, but at the same time, we need to hold the police accountable. The police are accountable to us as taxpayers, as citizens. They're accountable. So we have to start holding law enforcement accountable, not just with tired mantras about, we're going to teach CRT at police academies, all that stuff. No, that stuff's got to stop. We as African Americans have to stop listening to the left or the right tell us how we need to deal with this issue. We need to deal with it holistically. We know there's a problem with training. We know there's a problem with hiring. How you keep getting these type of officers on the force. And we need to address that. And we need to also hold people accountable for when this happens to anybody, but when it happens in situations we see, people should be held accountable. The more this happens, the less you're going to see of this. Now, again, one time is too many for me, so I don't need to rattle off all the names and stuff that's happened. But I see that we get in our feelings, we start protesting, F the police, and then the stupid people on the right come out. I call the right wing radical morons come out with, this comply. If he had to comply, all that crap. The fact is, the right and the left are both part of this problem in this discussion, because the left wants to take things silly to the left to defund the police, and the social worker should respond to criminal activity. And then you get people on the right who act like anytime the police do something, they're justified if a person doesn't comply. I don't care if he complied. We understand that whatever the situation was, if he didn't comply, if 5 of y'all can't handcuff this dude, then y'all don't need to be on the job. And for what little piece of the video I saw, because I didn't watch the whole thing, because I don't need to see that. I know they was wrong, and it's not that I'm making a judgment. I've seen the news reports. The man is dead. That's wrong. Whatever they did was too much. So I don't need to see it. And I don't want to see another black man brutalized and kicked or choked or anything like that, So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm sure that everybody's in their feelings. And of course, you need to be in your feelings. When you're angry, you tend to get motivated to do change. Just direct that energy in the right way, in a way that's going to get us where we want. Otherwise, a few months from now, we're going to have this conversation all over again. Like I've always said, how many times are we going to do this? Black man gets killed by the police. Left wing, anti-racist. Your what's his name, Bell, and freaking the anti-racist dude Ibrahim. They want to talk about race, and then the right wants to talk about law and order. And at the end of the day, nothing changes, and we end up with the same thing. And what I mean by nothing changing is there needs to be an overall move in our country to change and address the issues with law enforcement. Law enforcement needs to be brought to the table. The community needs to be brought to the table in each one of these communities. I don't care if it's Memphis, Baltimore, Philly, Chicago, New York. The community and law enforcement need to work this out. The law enforcement needs to understand that you are responsible to the community. You're not above the community. You're not an occupying force. If you feel that way, go get another job. Simple as that. You are part of the community, and you need to work with the community to do your job properly and learn how to respect the people that you are sworn to protect and serve. That's what it comes down to. That's the accountability we need to be holding people accountable. So we can talk all the anti-racism, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. What's the other one? I back the blue, all that crap. We can do that, or we can actually do something significant. Or we're going to have this conversation 5 months from now, 6 months from now. It's going to be somebody else's son. And the fact is, it doesn't need to happen if we hold people accountable, and if we hold our governments accountable to hire more people. I see Mayor Lightfoot on in Chicago constantly. Now she's trying to get reelected and she's pitching to the crowd or whatever, saying what she needs to say. But the whole time she's there, she has done no systemic change in the Chicago Police Department. The only thing they've done is lost officers. That's the only thing that's happened under her. So we have to hold, if y'all gonna in Chicago gonna reelect this woman, hold her accountable for hiring, for better training. And better training isn't just throwing some CRT class in there or diversity, equity, inclusion class and thinking that you did something. Training is really getting to the root of the issue. And that is when you get people, when you hire people, let them know you're part of the community you serve. Make them walk a beat in their community. All right. If they don't live in the community, make them walk a beat in the community so they get to know people. Because that's what the police are supposed to do. They're supposed to know the neighborhood. They're supposed to know the people. Helps them do their job better. They know who's on bull junk and who's not if you're actually part of the community. But if you're occupying force, you coming in, you're looking at everybody as criminals and that you got to come put the bangers down. And that's not what it's about, or it shouldn't be. If that's what it's about to you, then go get another job. That's what it comes down to. If you're in this job to brutalize people, to hurt people, or to exercise your power over people, you're in the wrong job. Your job is a servant. And you're supposed to serve the communities that you're part of. That's it. I don't care what color the cop is. I don't care if they're black, white, Asian, Latino. Your job is to serve whatever community you decide you want to work, that you chose to work as a police in. And that's it. That's all I got to say. I'm tired of hearing people whining about racism on the left and people on the right whining about law and order. Y'all both part of the damn problem because y'all keep whining about the same damn thing and nothing changes. Nothing changes. We keep going through this. All right. And people talking about Rodney King. You don't got to go that far back. This has been happening every year, 2 or 3 times, and it's always the same song. No one holds the politicians accountable to hold law enforcement accountable. It's just that simple, But again, if you want to be in your emotions and keep posting F the police, or if you on the right, you want to be in your feelings, did he comply? More power to you. I'm just going to delete you or ignore you because that ain't changing nothing. Yeah, you're entitled to your feelings on both sides. The only thing I'm going to say is I do hold law enforcement more accountable than the average people. And the reason why is that, and I'm not saying the average people are not on the level of law enforcement, I'm saying they haven't sworn this oath. If you're law enforcement and you sworn the oath to serve and protect, then that's what you need to be doing. All right. I understand you got a hard job. It is what it is. You chose it though. And if you chose that, then it should be more than just a job to you. It should be service to your community. And if you can't see your community as people, get out, quit now. I'd rather have less cops. If y'all feel you can't do your job without stereotyping the whole community, then you don't need to do the job. And there's some people who want to step up and do the job that way, who want to do it the right way. That being said, like I said, again, prayers to Mr. Nichols' family. I'm not going to keep y'all long on this one because I'm not going to give you a history lesson. I'm not going to give you a public policy lesson. This is some common sense stuff. We hear everybody mad, and I'm just tired of seeing the same cycle. We get mad, we protest, different politics utilize the Black community to forward whatever agenda they're on, and we don't get anything from it. All the protesting we did after George Floyd and all that stuff. What do we get? We get a safety act that gets passed, and we're not sure what it's done, but I tell you this much, what it ain't done is help the hood get better. We still getting shootings every weekend in the hood that we shouldn't be having, so obviously it's not working. All right. And we're not holding the people accountable we should be. We're not demanding the change we should be demanding. And that change is basic grassroots. Law enforcement needs to understand they're part of the community they serve. And we need to make them, if you're going to take that job, you need to walk the beat. You need to spend quality time in that community, going to schools, churches, restaurants, businesses, and getting to know the people that you serve and protect, and making yourself part of that community where you care about that community. It'll help you do your job better, and it'll help stuff like this from not happening. It's just that simple. And if you're that scary, you pull over somebody in traffic stop, they run off, and you feel you got to beat them beat them to the point they end up dying. Like I said, this ain't for you. Leave. Get another job. Nobody needs you in law enforcement. That's how you feel. Go get a job at a bakery or something where you can't hurt nobody. Just do that. Don't stay in law enforcement if you had a problem with any group of people because of their skin color, their religion, their gender, whatever it is. All right. And I'm going to keep it at that, man. I can go on and on. This is quick. I'll probably talk about it a little later this week with some of my guests. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, people, hold your people, your elected accountable. It's not enough just to vote. You got to hold them accountable so they know you put their ass out of office if they keep up not doing what you want them to do. I'm not telling you to vote for in Chicago or New York or wherever you live. But whoever you vote for, I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, it don't matter. The party don't matter. What matters is the person, and you hold the person accountable. They're going to do the job for your community or they're not. That's it. That's all. Our elected officials are who law enforcement answers to. Our elected officials are who answer to us. That's how this government works. So we need to stand on that. Instead of just waiting for something like this happen, getting our motions and forget about it. 4 months later, we're trying to see what's the new NBA players or listening to the new remix out by Kanye West. We forget about the whole thing until it happens again. So I'm saying, if you feel so passionate, do something for real and go out there and hold people accountable and demand change. People in Memphis, you need to demand change. You need to hold the mayor accountable. Hold that mayor accountable. Say, this is what we want. I don't want your lip service. I don't care about Benjamin Crump coming down and Al Sharpton. Nobody cares about that because all they do is show their faces again, mugging the cameras, making their money, whatever it is they do, but they ain't changing nothing. Y'all have to change that in Memphis. All right. Don't let these outsiders come into your community, tell you what you need to do. And I know I'm trying to tell you what you need to do, but I'm just educating you. I'm simply saying, hold your mayor accountable, hold your city council accountable. Tell them you want to hire better officers, that you want higher standards, and maybe as taxpayers, you might kick out a few more dollars if you get that officer who has that master in social work or a master in education or something that actually wants to know and help people. Whatever it is, all I'm saying is, however it looks in your community, hold the people accountable in your community to do what you want for your community. That's it. That's all. I'll talk about this a little later. This was a quick one just to get this off my chest. Again, prayers to Tyre Nichols' family. I only can imagine. I don't ever want to feel what you're feeling. I pray for you. You lost your son based on some nonsense. And I know that pain is real, and that pain is stinging with you. And it's for what? Because these cops were too cowardly to know how to do a traffic stop without killing somebody? That's all I'm saying. And like I said, hey, if 4 months from now they come out innocent, they the wrong people, this one them or whatever, I'd be highly surprised. But if that happens where they are exonerated, I'll be the first to apologize. Right now, y'all looking real messed up. Y'all looking like y'all did that stuff. Is what it is. I hope, like with any other person who kills a black man, I don't care what gang you in. I don't care if you BD, GD, Vice Lord, Stone, Crip, Blood, or Blue Police. Whatever you are, when you get in a mob and you kill a brother, especially a brother that ain't got nothing to do with whatever business y'all on, I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? Throw the book at you. You get no sympathy from me, all right, until you figure out the fact that other lives should matter, black lives should matter to us, all right? And that's the last thing I'm going to say on that, man. We don't value each other. Black cops killed this man. We got black people killing other black people. And please, people, don't send me that crime happens. I know most crime happens with people in the same race. I get that. But I'm saying this. We, as African Americans, at 12% of the population, we have got to start looking and respecting each other. And then we can demand that respect from others. We should demand that respect from others anyway. But we keep giving people excuses to ignore us. And I'm not saying they're valid excuses. All right. Again, I'm not saying the shootings in Chicago or down in LA or over in Baltimore are some reasons that people can dismiss what law enforcement did. Because again, law enforcement is sworn to protect. We expect criminals to be criminals. So let me get this straight. The comparison I'm making between what happens in the hood and what happens with these cops is it's still black men killing black men. But I do understand there's a distinction. The homies in the hood, they're signed up to be with the business, the gangbanging business. And we don't like that. And that's something we're going to deal with. But these guys supposedly signed up to serve and protect. All right. So what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? You say you're supposed to serve and protect. So you deserve the book to be thrown at you even harder because the oath that you took to serve and protect. But all I'm saying, as far as the homies in the hood, and all the stuff that's going on, we got to stop that too. That nonsense is getting out of hand. It's been out of hand. That's somebody's mother or sister or grandmother or father going to be crying about losing their child because of that mess too, over the course of the weekend. So either way it go, we need to just stop the nonsense. But as far as law enforcement people, That's a little easier to deal with than the gang problem. The law enforcement you can deal with simply by your vote and holding people accountable. I don't want to hear that voting don't matter. It does matter. If it didn't matter, people wouldn't spend millions of dollars for you to not vote. All right, but wouldn't try to keep it out your hands. So it matters. But people voted. I voted for so and so, and nothing changed. You know what? Because you just hold so and so accountable. That's the other part. There's an accountability piece. It's work you have to do if you want actual change. And that work is not yelling at a camera or posting F the police on Facebook or whatever it is you feel that you need to do. Get out there and do the work. That's all I got to say. Y'all take it light. Peace.